Well, something is happening over there in the United States where it's being reported. Well, from Edwards Air Force Base, this column of smoke is being reported. That's over there in San Diego in the United States. And look, later on this was reported, this tremendous situation. And it's that a bomber, pay attention, a B-52 Stratofortress bomber from the United States Air Force crashed at Edwards Air Force Base. According to what emergency teams are reporting, they are responding, and the condition of the crew is unknown at this time. But look, wow, well, no, this is really tough, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, now another situation where a plane from the United States crashes. It just seems, I mean, it's kind of strange, isn't it? I mean, look, there are more reports now, it says. Let's see. The military aircraft crashed at an airbase north of Los Angeles. This happened this morning, Monday, according to reports from Edwards Air Force Base on social media. The B-52 Stratofortress from the United States Air Force crashed shortly after takeoff at Edwards Airfield at 11:20 in the morning. This is what they say. On the base's own social media accounts, emergency teams responded immediately. At the scene, the situation is ongoing. It says it's not immediately clear if there are any injuries. CNN has reached out. I mean, I'm seeing this report right here on CNN. Let's see if I find another one. Look, here's Telemundo as well. Telemundo also says the B-52 bomber from the Air Force crashed while taking off from the airbase, but it also doesn't mention any victims. It says there are no reports of so far. There are no reports of victims. This notice says, right, well, that's also, it's important, but it seems strange to me. No, Univision is also reporting it, and Excelsior is too. I mean, well, that's it. Well, I think it's clear that this situation must have happened at the moment of takeoff from what I see here. No, there aren't any more details, right, about how many people were on board, what happened to them, if they managed to get out or not, etc. No, it looks really serious. It looks really intense, but we don't know exactly what happened. There have been several air incidents lately, right? But whenever they're military, it always seems more suspicious, right? Well, let's move on to other matters. Let's go to a scientific topic that I find very interesting. This is being reported by a group of scientists who have discovered a series of strange changes in the sun. This was detected after a level 9 9x solar flare. Yes. Upon receiving that solar flare, suddenly, well, just noticed a rather curious behavior. The researchers identified anomalous changes in the solar atmosphere several hours before that gigantic solar flare. X9 class, one of the most powerful categories ever recorded. The discovery was made by analyzing data obtained before that eruption, which occurred on October 3, 2024. From there, this strange behavior began to be investigated. According to what they report, the study was led by Luis Seyfried, a researcher at the New Jersey Institute of Technology, who admitted that the results were completely different from what he expected to find. For almost 5 continuous hours, the scientists were able to monitor an active region thanks to NASA's IRIS Space Observatory, which specializes in studying the solar atmosphere with great precision. The researchers detected 5 key signals led by Seyfried, a researcher at the Institute of Technology, who found that about 3 hours before the flare, 5 key signals began to increase. The study's lead, Seyfried from the New Institute of Technology, admitted that the results were different from what he expected. O sea, that flare, right? That solar flare, in any case, what it generates or what catches his attention is that it's like a kind of warning, not a prior warning to, well, to an event, to a strong solar storm, right? To a strong reaction, let's say, right? So in light of this, well, here they go. Here are the comments made by the scientists themselves, and we will gradually see the details. Not these solar flares. Well, huge ones. That could happen at some point. And, well, they usually affect electronics and other things, right? According to the analysis, these changes suggest that the solar magnetic change was becoming progressively more unstable before releasing a huge amount of energy. One of the most striking discoveries was the appearance of oscillations with intervals between 7 and 10 minutes. There were also cycles lasting 18 to 20 minutes. According to their reports, the scientists observed that the sudden acceleration of these turbulences has been massive, and they point out that this could help to understand how life is experienced. This type of flare, and not only that, but also being able to predict them with more time or greater certainty. He says, yes, to begin with, the size of these solar eruptions, right? Yes. The research was published in the scientific journal Solar Physics and represents one of the most promising attempts to understand exactly what happens before solar outbursts. Before major solar projections or storms, we could have reports that something big is coming hours before it happens on the sun. That would still give us more hours to prepare on Earth in case it's necessary to get ready, right? Well, that's the topic. I find it super interesting. There's also an intelligence report about Iran. Let's get to that. It turns out that the so-called Iranian hawks would be furious about the agreement. And well, they would be seeking revenge, right? They say that the death of Jami Khamenei is still very recent, and the unity against Israel and the United States remains strong within the regime. Close to the supreme leader, Ayatollah Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of Ali Jami Khamenei, an Iranian source on the ground says that the hardliners want to keep attacking, and you know what they want? They want to get rid of Aragashi and Galibaf. They want to remove and eliminate the leaders currently negotiating the agreement. There's a clash going on right now in Iran. There's a strong blow, an internal war. And well, that's probably why they're negotiating with Aragashi and this, what's his name? I mean, they probably feel somehow safe because they're backed by some security forces, because otherwise, I don't think they'd be doing it. I mean, there's a clash of powers here within a country that has a super radicalized sector and another sector that's, let's say, a bit less radicalized, a bit more moderate. And that's where it stands, right? That's where things are at the moment, right? So pay attention to what's happening, because it doesn't look like this is going to be resolved anytime soon. On the contrary, it seems like there are groups in Israel very close to Netanyahu that don't want the negotiation to happen. There are very important groups close to the supreme leader that also don't want the negotiation. The ones who want it the most are the United States and the Aragashi group, right? They would like to enter into negotiations. They would like to reach an agreement, right? What they are asking, those are the red lines for both sides, so it's difficult. Meanwhile, Netanyahu reiterates that Iran will not have nuclear weapons, with or without an agreement, that they will make sure Iran does not have nuclear weapons. And that simply can't happen, right? They keep insisting on that approach. Let's move to other topics. Hey, let's move on to other important matters as well. Look, there's already a report we've been waiting for. The report I mentioned about Ebola is here. And look, well, it's not, to be honest, I was hoping it would be a bit more under control by now. But apparently, well, they don't even know the extent of the problem. In the new phase, which they call the phase of uncertainty. In the eastern area of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, there are a series of breakdowns in control, and they simply don't know the magnitude of the problem. For example, they don't know how many have died or how many are infected with Ebola. The outbreak in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo has lasted over a month. Yeah, that's since the official confirmation, but they think it may have started in January. So that would make it about 6 months in theory. That's why the magnitude isn't clear. The official figures report 782 confirmed cases and 181 confirmed deaths. Keep in mind, there are many more, but those are the confirmed ones, making it the third deadliest Ebola outbreak ever recorded in history. Right now, up to this point, it's the third largest and deadliest in all of history. So it really is a serious issue, and we don't know the full magnitude. I insist, so it could be bigger than we think, right? Doctors Without Borders are already warning that these numbers could be, the ones I'm mentioning, way below the reality, right? In other words, the numbers must be much higher, says Doctors Without Borders. That is, medical teams right now are facing severe delays in getting lab results. By the time they receive them, it's already too late. So they need speed. Congolese health officials acknowledge that there is a huge difficulty in coordinating and harmonizing information coming from hospital laboratories to the epidemiological surveillance teams. It's still entirely a control problem. This causes both duplicate cases, for example, as well as missing records, creating an incomplete picture of the real progress of the virus and making it unclear exactly what is happening. The magnitude remains a mystery. At this point, just imagine, not even that, not even the magnitude, right? The WHO, the World Health Organization, warns that attacks on funeral teams and the rejection of health protocols are putting more people at risk. Of course, if they don't want to follow the protocols, if they want to bury them however they want, without any protocol, taking and stealing the bodies of their relatives, etc. Well, it's complicated, right? The healthcare infrastructure is under enormous pressure. There are only, he says, 14 treatment facilities to deal with this epidemic within the Congo, right? It already affects 31 different areas, 31 sectors, let's say. And well, in light of this, the Doctors Without Borders warn that the window to contain the outbreak is closing. If it's not contained soon, it will spread to other countries quickly. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to this issue. Stay alert to what's happening in that report. And well, let's move on to other interesting topics as well. Hey, so someone made a bet on Polymarket where they wagered $1 million that Spain would win their match against Cape Verde, right? It's like they said, no, I'm going for the safe bet. So what do you think happened? Spain ended up 0-0 with Cape Verde. Who is Cape Verde in football, really? Are they good at football? Does anyone know what's happening or where we stand? Spain versus Cape Verde. Aside from the scoreline, it was really boring. Right now, it's Belgium versus Egypt. One, by the way, isn't it? And Saudi Arabia and Uruguay are facing each other today at 4 in the afternoon too. That's going to be super interesting. Iran and New Zealand too, right? Today, Iran plays at 7 p.m. We'll have to watch the game, right? It will be in the United States, so we'll see how the public reacts to the Iranians. It should be interesting. Tomorrow, it's France versus Senegal, Iraq versus Norway, Argentina versus Algeria, and Austria versus Jordan too. So tomorrow will be interesting, right? Spain and Cape Verde already played. Next up are Belgium versus Egypt, Saudi Arabia versus Uruguay, and Iran versus New Zealand. So surely we'll be watching at least some highlights to see how things go, right? Some of them. And well, I'd say I'm going to watch the highlights of the Spain game. But honestly, I don't know, knowing it's going to be highlights of a 0-0 draw. But anyway, I'll watch it later, right? But anyway, what I'm telling you is announced by Polymarket, right? We're seeing it here. There it is, right? Well, this is it. Look, this is the report, right? Let me put it over here on this side. There, it's fine. It's upright, right? So that's the Polymarket report. That's what they would have bet on, right? And well, with what he would have lost, I guess, I don't know how much he would have lost, at what point he gets out of it. Well, who knows how he did it. But the thing is, well, it looked like a sure thing, right? But I just figured Spain would win, right? Right? I mean, it's like, how are they going to lose to Cape Verde? But well, that's how things are, right? That's how things are. In this matter, what's happening right now is in Iran and what's happening in Israel. In the next few hours, it will be decided if the agreement will be signed. I mean, the agreement is doubtful, honestly, after several days of announcements supposedly about the agreement and the agreement and the agreement and all that. The ones defending it aren't the Iranian leaders or the supreme leader, right? Instead, they're other types of political leaders, but they don't control the Revolutionary Guard. So if the Revolutionary Guard feels like it, they keep operating and doing whatever they want. So honestly, it doesn't seem like the agreement is going to work. Despite the announcements, right? Despite everything that's been warned and said, right? Meanwhile, Trump is currently assuring that the oil tankers are leaving Hormuz. The US President Donald Trump stated today, Monday, that there are already ships, many of them loaded with oil, that are starting to leave the Strait of Hormuz. And he expressed confidence that everything will be ready by this Friday, as soon as the demining process is finished. He said today that there were still some mines left. Maybe there are 2 or 3 mines out there, something like that. Well, I don't know if it's 2 or 3 mines, but there are still mines. So that's why the full opening is going to be delayed a little, which in theory is expected to happen, right? The Supreme Leader published a message while they are on their way to the G7 summit in Evian, France, which will be held tomorrow or the day after. On Wednesday, that's when this international meeting takes place, right? It's a topic that will have many very interesting geopolitical messages, so let's also stay alert to that situation, right? The ships are starting to leave the Hormuz station, many of them loaded with oil. Trump says heading south. That is leaving Hormuz supposedly, right? We'll see about that, and we'll keep confirming it as we go. In the meantime, let's move on to other important matters. Hey, so NASA announces the supersonic plane Son of Concorde from NASA, or Sonsa of the Concorde, which has broken the sound barrier. For the first time, paving the way for ultra-fast air travel. The idea of this plane is to travel, right? Right? Well, from the UK to New York, I think it's about 4 hours. Test pilot Jim Clue took off and landed at Edwards Air Force Base in California, where this incident happened. The one we just... He climbed to about 13 kilometers high, that is 13,200 meters, before setting the new speed record. It goes up, 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 up. And at that distance, at that altitude is when they reach the speed of sound. And well, it was at Mach 1.1, meaning it was going at 1.1 times the speed of sound. It's this plane, look. Let's see if I can put it somewhere. This is the plane. If more videos or updates are released later, we'll publish them. It's called the X-59. It has been designed to solve one of the big problems, which is the issue of the sonic boom. The idea is that this plane doesn't have the sonic boom. That's one of the reasons why hypersonic planes were cancelled, because they were extremely noisy. So they can't break the sound barrier unless they're outside of territory, like over the sea and things like that. So this plane, in theory, doesn't make that sound. I mean, not the breaking of the sound barrier, so to speak. The sonic boom is very mild. You hardly notice it compared to other types of planes when they make a sonic boom. They can even burst eardrums, leave people with hearing problems. They can shatter windows. I mean, come on, it's a whole series of problems, right? The supersonic speeds of the plane escape from this trail of sound waves, which causes the ripples to group together and compress into a single massive shock wave. This means that supersonic planes like the Concorde constantly left behind a trail of powerful shock waves, which sounds like a loud boom when the aircraft passes overhead. After solving the problem, NASA has been working on the development of this quiet supersonic technology called Quest. That's what they've named the tool. The technology is aiming for that, right? To fly quietly enough to pass over populated areas. Is that the idea? Well, that's part of the development NASA is working on, and today they're proud to say they've reached that speed. Well, there you have the son of the Concorde, also known as the X-59 plane. That's also part of what's happening today. Let's move on to the comments. Thank you very much for subscribing. Thank you very much to the whole community that's already subscribed. Thank you for that. He says, where is it? Where is it? Greetings to MT, to Adilson, to who else is here, to Roblo, to the whole community that's arriving, says Pepe. Does President Trump say he doesn't care about a regime change? Actually, we talked about it yesterday. Look, we talked about it yesterday on MT, that he didn't care, right? He wasn't interested in the change. It wasn't part of his plan, says Leonardo Pepe. I'm in Argentina. In the last World Cup, the first match they lost to Saudi Arabia and then ended up winning the World Cup. Hey, that's true. I didn't remember that. What a good comment. Because suddenly, well, of course, sometimes a bad game can happen, right? I mean, and then suddenly everything just goes up and up and up and up and up and up, right? That's a good point. And well, not everything has been said about Spain. So maybe it's not that Spain tied. It doesn't mean that much either, even though it's Cape Verde. But well, that's how it is now. I don't even remember how far they got last time, but well, what Leonardo says is interesting, right? Daniel, greetings from Argentina. How have you been? Very good. Says, thank you for your support and warm greetings. Thank you very much also to Ana del Dicarte, greetings. Sol Garcia, Mauro, how have you been? A big hello to everyone. Thank you for subscribing. And he says, for those kinds of people, war is already a way of life. Says Mauro. Yes, good point there. Says Ebola, how have you been? Eva va maravisi. Greetings. How have you been, Eva? Hello, greetings from Spain. How have you been? Eddie too. He says, I suspect that Putin and Trump are extraterrestrials, reptilians, greys, Androvidians, and everything else, right? Hey, Eddie. How have you been? Hello. He says, I have to look for a video. It doesn't come up for me. I mean, it doesn't switch automatically. It doesn't play automatically. Does it work? Let's see. Is it on cell phones or where exactly does this automatic feature work? Right? In theory, we set it up to run automatically since it's a tool that YouTube offers. You go from one live stream and send people to another. I mean, but apparently it doesn't work for everyone, right? Cheers, Rosalinda. Great greetings. Who else is here? Let's see. He says, okay, hello, Roble. He says, I don't know. Where is he? Leonardo says, not to be suspicious, but this seems very strange to me. Those supposed airplane accidents, plus the supposed accidents where there were explosions and others. Honestly. Yeah, I mean, no, really. It just seems to me like it's all happening too close together. You know? I mean, it's not like it was something separate. It just seems like everything happened too close together. But anyway, let's see what gets reported later on. This is still very fresh right now. It happened at 11:30, I think, when the incident occurred. So we'll keep talking about it later to see how the situation develops, right? Hey, well, we'll be back in a little while. The report about Ebola that we had pending is already there, and there are other matters that we'll surely be talking about later. The rains have already started, but we managed to broadcast perfectly. Since it's supposedly a pretty intense storm, there could be power outages, so I wanted to finish before this got too intense. I mean, hopefully there won't be any, but well, hey, big hug, hope we're all doing well. We'll talk later. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you in a little while. See you later.